So, good day po Sir Bry. Pasensya na po kung magpipink masyado yung video mamaya. I mean yung video medyo may complications sa welcome. So, so my cultural topic is about the Filipinos culture of respect and hospitality. So, the traditions, beliefs, norms, and values of people contributes to the culture of a nation. We all know that culture varies from one place to another, and some have the same culture. For example, in Asia, it is known that people here are mostly respectful and very evident in this aspect. Respect comes in many forms, and it can be in validating others' views, opinions, and beliefs. Yet also by having a specific name or tag for them in order to recognize who they are to a person in a moral way. The Philippines is one of the countries that exhibits this behavior. The country is known for its respect for elders, strangers, and to their kapwa. The citizens are best known to other countries for our for its hospitality of other nations and their cultures. Many Filipinos adopt the culture of other countries and apply it on their own, thus making a cross culture, though they still stand out and be as identical because of their own manners and culture. We Filipinos have our own way of respect to other people, and this comes in pagmamano, pagbebeso, same po and opo in our sentences, and a warm welcome to foreigners through their hospitality. So, in this study, I want to know if this culture should exist still in the present and in the future. If it is morally good, if it is right, if it is good, if it is bad, if it is wrong for the society, and that. So, at at the beginning, me personally believes that this culture should exist and survive, and it shouldn't be gone because of my perspective and views, and as the study persists, maybe my opinion will change. So, scope and limitation. Respect for po and opo, pagmamano, pagbebeso, and I will also include hospitality towards other nations. So, definition of terms, pagmamano. It is an honoring gesture used in Filipino culture, performed as a sign of respect to others and as a way of respecting a blessing from the elder. So, ginagawa to kapag inihingi natin yung right hand ng elder natin, usually parents natin, and isa-strike natin sa ating forehead. Kadalasan itong ginagawa kapag galing tayo sa trabaho or sa school, then kakaway lang natin, or even kapag alis tayo ng bahay. Personally, I'm still doing this. So, beso-beso. So, it is basically a Filipino term for chickies. Although this isn't unique for Filipinos, we still practice this, and this is like a light version of pagmamahal, because it can be done if you meet your cousin, if through with your close friend, and to tita, titos, and other relatives. The culture that I'm talking about is, just like I said earlier, is the Filipinos culture of respect and hospitality. So, our respect comes in the forms of pagmamano, pagbebeso, including words po and opo in our sentences, having these tags is called these names so that we can portray our respect and hospitality towards other nations, especially the foreigners. Oh, the philosopher. So, I'm choosing Immanuel Kant as my philosopher for this study. So, Immanuel Kant was born in Königsberg, close to the Baltic City in Europe on April 22, 1724. So, pinanganak siya sa town in which it is a major trading center, an important military port, and had a university that is relatively cosmopolitan, which means that this is commercial and sikat, and this is kind of high high quality. It's like a university. I mean, it's like a state university. King was born into Kant was born into a family of artisans with ample resources for the family's needs. His father was a master harness maker and his mother was a daughter of a harness maker. Yung family niya never nawala ng needs and the means to get the basic needs for the family. Pero yung father niya is medyo nalugi yung trade niya or parang natumal because during conflicts and they had to rely on an extended family for financial support. Umattend si Kant ng piety school between the ages of 8 and 15, which is known as the Collegium Fridericianum. So, pietism means in Lutheranism is a movement that incorporates the focus on divine doctrine with a reformed emphasis on piety. So this basically means that parang may pagka-religious yung pagiging pietism. So in that, Kant at first didn't like it, but taking refuge in the classics of Latin, which were fundamental in the curriculum of school, nagustuhan niya rin yun, eventually. So, in his youth, he loathed the school's philosophy, but due to his situation, his love and appreciation for his parents persisted, and the mature Immanuel Kant was established. According to his biographer, Manfred Quen, Kant's parents probably influenced him through their artistic works, rather than their pietism more. So, he attended at the University of Königsberg, also known as the Albertina, King's College, where he was influenced by many philosophy teachers to many ideas, such as Wolff's approach and German and British criticism. After spending 6 years as a private teacher outside Königsberg, namatay yung parents ni Kant, and he returned to Königsberg again in 1754 and began teaching to pursue a academic career para makakuha siya ng funds para ma-pursue ang pagiging scholar. So, doon nagturo siya ng philosophy hanggang mag-retire siya at the age of 72 in 1796. So, at first, for 15 years, hindi siya binabayaran ng university directly. Instead, he was paid by students when they attended his lectures. So, through that, nasusustain niya sarili niya upang makapagturo lalo sa university. And after 15 years, na-promote siya bilang chair of logic and metaphysics at Albertina, and eventually expanded his list of lectures sa mga students niya. And through this promotion, mas lalo siyang nagkaroon ng influence sa university. And throughout his teaching career, nakapag-publish siya ng many books and works and documents. This includes the 3 scientific works that he first published. It includes a universal natural history and theory of elements. And these works became a nebular hypothesis about the formation of the solar system, which is malaki. Pero first, yung printers nun is na-bankrupt, which made these works the less impact than expected. So, medyo na-depress siya doon, pero he still continued to work. His first published work was considered the possibility of metaphysics, which later became the central topic of his mature philosophy, and was published in 1766. And although sa first 15 years ng pagtuturo, hindi siya binabayaran, he still wrote many works and books, and through his promotion through 15 years, lalo siya nakapag-focus sa develop ng mga documents, ng books, and works, pagpapublish nun. And with these works, it secured international fame and came to spread German philosophy and habit dominant in the late 1780s. But at the 1790s, doon na nagtapos ang kanyang critical enterprise, which is brought up by the critic of the power of judgment, which he announced himself. By then, K.L. Reinhold popularized Kant's moral and religious ideas through his Kantian philosophy. This time, many German philosophers as well continued his legacy through their own individual works, such as Religion Within the Boundaries of Mere Reason, which had harsh criticisms when Kant first published it, after its second essay was rejected by the censor. So, even though natapos ng time ni Kant, many philosophers still picked up on his works and philosophy and continued it, and mas binoda nila, mas nilagyan nila ng depth para, and it contributed to what philosophy is now today in the current world. Concept of the style. So, I looked upon his moral philosophy on morality, and I focused on these topics: theoretical and practical autonomy. Autonomy. It is literally giving oneself the law, and that is influenced by understanding. So, it's simple as that. If I saw a dog running, for example, I'm gonna give myself day law to not interrupt the dog or to not stop it, because that's it. I give myself that law based on my understanding, and understanding, according to him, is a form of structure that is experienced with 5 senses, rather than the content and matter of the experience itself. So, dahil na-experience ng 5 senses ko with 5 senses ko yung pagtakbo na aso, which is only my sight and my ears, nakapag-formulate ako ng autonomy or ng law to give myself, which is not interrupted with all. And understanding is also influenced by humans' intuition. Intuition means that nagtatanong, curiosity. Alam naman natin yung humans ay mahilig magtanong, curious tayo, at we want to know answers, and by that, na-influence ang understanding or ang form of structure ng experience sa ating 5 senses. So, law of nature, it is the product of humans' understanding. So, the law of nature in that situation, when I see a dog run, is that I should not interrupt the dog. So, yeah. We saw it is similar to understand, but it's rather not influenced by the human's intuition. So, basically, it's the same, pero hindi na-influence ng human's intuition. Hindi siya na-influence ng curiosity ko or yung want ko na pagtatanong, bakit ba natakbo yung aso? Bakit ba siya, may hinahanap ba siya? Wala, hindi siya na-influence ng gano'n. This merely my experience of my 5 senses. Oh, moral law. It is the product of this. It's basically the opposite of law of nature. It is also known as the categorical imperative law of duty, which will be emphasized later on. It is not only based on the pure reason of human, but is also inclined on other incentives and aspects. It is also affected by the general laws of nature. So, basically, law of nature is my basis, and I mean, it's not really a basis, pero minsan, nagiging basis siya para magkamot tayo sa moral law. Theoretical autonomy philosophy. It is about how the universe is current. And self-consciousness is the highest principle. Why is that? Because if I see a world, if I see my environment, Philippines, I saw the Philippines as a country that is um developing, continuing, and yeah, it's it's in order. So, bakit ko nalaman na in order? Ba't ko nalaman in developing? Ba't ko nalaman continuation? Because I know, because I am conscious of it, because I have self-consciousness. So that's why it is the highest principle in this autonomy, in this philosophy. So, practical autonomy philosophy. It is about how someone views the world as what it should be in the future. So, ito yung gusto ng tao na mangyari sa world. Ito yung gusto ng tao na ano ba dapat ang world? It's like that. So, moral law is the highest principle. So, bakit? Because moral law, again, is a product of reason. So, product of reason. So, alam natin na dahil sa reason natin, nagkakaroon tayo ng moral law which is which will influence our views, our knowledge of the world, and it will give us maybe, but not all of us, the idea that we should change what is theoretical autonomy, which is what the world is in our view, and we should change it. It's like from current to the future. Well, yes. So if we combine these concepts, we will come up with a transcendental idealism. Theoretical philosophy deals with appearances to which our comprehension is strictly limited, which is ito naman. Theoretical philosophy kasi parang yun ay observation natin sa world. And practical philosophy deals with things in itself, although it does not provide us with knowledge of things in itself, but for practical purposes only. Offers logical reasoning for certain assumptions about. So, practical philosophy, again, is yung gusto natin makita sa world. So, kung gusto natin makita sa world, mag-act tayo para magiging ganun yung world, para magbago yung mundo. And hindi tayo magkakaroon ng knowledge by doing so itself, by thinking of the world on how it should be, because in our minds, nandun lang yung world na yun, nandun lang yung philosophy niya, parang wala pa siya sa present, so wala tayong makukuha knowledge dun. Instead, magkakaroon na tayo ng logical reasoning because we are thinking of it. Categorical imperative maxim. It's a law of or policy of behavior that is subjective and it tells what you are doing and why. So, maxim is basically an action. An action which is also navigated by the reason. For example, kung gusto ko ng coffee, I drank a cup of coffee because I am sleepy and I want that sleepiness to go away because maybe it's morning or a test is coming up and I'm reviewing or something. So, material principle. It is an hypothetical imperative that is a principle of rationality, which means that one acts to satisfy their own desire. It is more inclined and influenced with personal desires. So basically, this means that one is acting on their own desires. So basically, this is acting on a maxim based on a desire. Wow. Again, a maxim is drinking a coffee because of sleepiness. So, if I want to drink a coffee, pupunta ako sa kitchen para magtimpla ng coffee, para mag-init ng tubig. And if I went to the kitchen just to drink a coffee, that is material principle because it is my need, it's my desire to do that thing, and that is what material principle is. Formal principle, on the other hand, is how one acts without making references to any desires. It is a categorical imperative again, which means that one should act in some way despite liking it or not. it is not inclined on any personal desires. So it's like material, it isn't like material principle because it is a maxim that is not basing on any desires. It's only basing on logical reasoning on what benefits yourself and others as well. It's basically not selfish. So it's good. It's for the greater good because if hindi naman lahat ng magagandang bagay is nagugustuhan natin, di ba? Parang, yes, it's basically formal principle for doing that. So, according to Kant, how can we say that someone acts freely? So, the only way for someone to fully act freely in the autonomous sense is by following the categorical imperative and having a moral permission of the maximum action. So, just like I said, categorical imperative according to Kant is what contributes to the greater good because categorical imperative, or rather known as formal principle, is beneficial not only to oneself but to others as well. Kasi hindi siya nakabase sa personal desires ng isang tao. So, in conclusion, if ginamit ko ang philosophy ni Kant Emmanuel sa culture ng Philippines, I can say that the maxim of our culture again is the form of our culture of respect. It is a maxim because we're doing it, and why? Because we want to respect others, and this and autonomy siya kasi you're literally giving oneself the law. And what is that law? Yun yung culture of respect. Although it isn't really a law, it's our action. And it is influenced by our understanding. Although hindi siya yung understanding talaga natin, but it is rather the understanding of our ancestors or the last generations kasi we have a history of occupation by 3 countries and for a long period of time, and isa sa factors kung bakit nangyari kasi wala tayong unity. And what brings unity? Order. What brings order? Less conflict. What does respect does? Less conflict. So yeah, so I think that dahil dun sa nangyari sa past, naisip ng past generations na gawin tong culture of respect para magkaroon ng unity and order society, which is I will be tackling about again later. So, ang theoretical autonomy sa topic na to is, I think that the Filipinos think of the country itself as developing once again, and it's continuing it, and it is in order. Why is that? Because they are conscious of it, because they know it, because they have self-consciousness. And what is the practical autonomy? And the practical autonomy is they want our country to develop more, to have a unity, and to have the order that it needs. So moral law is the highest principle of it, because what's again the moral law? A moral law is also known as a categorical imperative, and a categorical imperative is also known as a formal principle. Formal principle of Lewis is again the culture of respect. Yung pagmamani, pagbeso po, and opo. Because hindi naman lahat ng tao gustong gawin yun, di ba? Hindi naman natin gusto yun. Wala nang may gusto nun. I mean, since nung kabataan natin, pinili ba natin gawin yun? Di ba hindi naman? Tinuro lang sa atin na gawin yun. And although tinuro lang sa atin gawin yun at hindi talaga natin ginusto, we are still free in that sense because hindi tayo nagpapadala sa desire natin or needs, and we are not selfish because of that. And through that, nagkakaroon ng greater good because this formal principle of culture of respect is beneficial just not only to one person but also to another person. Kasi nagkakaroon ng respect, less conflict, nagkakaroon ng unity, na order, diba? So, it leans towards the greater good. So, it's not include any personal desires. So, I think that in conclusion again, the pagmamano, pagbebeso, po only brings the greater good. Wala siyang harm, diba? I mean, in my opinion, it only brings order, unity. It only is a formal principle. And according to Kant again, it does not, yung culture of respect is not only leaning towards a greater good, but it also makes us free in this sense because we are following the formal principle, diba? So, I think that this culture of us should persist and exist in the future. We should teach this to our future children, to the next generation, and to the next, and on to the next one as well, because it brings the greater good and it leans towards what is the most of us as practical autonomy, and it brings about the transcendental idealism of what should be our country is. And yeah, that's it. It only brings a greater good. So in my conclusion, I only got more motivated that this should persist and nothing's wrong with it. And according to Kant's moral philosophy, this is correct. So, thank you, Sir Bry. Happy New Year.